Hey, how you doing? I'm Hoopy, your host of Them Brothers from Inglewood podcast, coming to you live and direct once again. It is a pleasure to be back in the studio. I know we have a different backdrop and ambiance, sort of homely, and I just thought it was befitting to come in and share some things on an interesting subject. I want to continue with the conversation we were having about prime time. Deion Sanders, the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. And before we get into that segment, I just want to say thank you to the Coalesce Group for all that you're doing in the education community. Thank you for impacting this industry and allowing youth of America to reach heights and reach their potential to achieve goals set forth. Thank you so much for bringing us along and allowing us to tag your brand. Thank you to Fruit Off the Vine Clothing Apparel, Christian Camille, for your vision to esteem and to encourage young girls and women alike. Thank you for clothing them and boosting their self-esteem, helping them understand that they can reach heights and levels that are just unmatched. And so thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your brand and to partner with you at this time. So again, I want to introduce the subject of prime time Deion Sanders because I've been experiencing some negative feedback. I've been listening to journalists, reading, commentary from, commentators and just soaking it all in. And I'm just a little perturbed when we begin to jump on people of color. Okay, I'm not racist. I'm far from prejudiced. I love all people, all ethnicities. I have no problem with not any other nationality. I'm speaking specifically to our community because it's been time for us to stop being negative and to support one another and to be encouraging. Like my big mama used to always say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I just think that we need to go back to the fundamental teachings that we received and get rid of this erroneous doctrine that's been surfacing for the last 3 or 4 decades. We've experienced a lot of negativity in our day and in our time. I'm 56 years old, so I can speak to at least the past 50 years that I've seen our race and our culture make a left turn. But I'm not going to preach and get into the history of why I think we're in the position we're in. But I just kind of want to, really speak to the issue that I have with us jumping on us, or for a lack of a better word, for us to damn one another, to be insensitive, to be supportive, and to be malicious. Why are we hating on one another, or why are we speaking negative about one another instead of trying to be a part of a solution more so than a problem? Okay, the subject today is prime time Deion Sanders, right? And I don't want to make it totally about sports. I don't want to make it about the actual game itself. I want to go from the human perspective and the professional position of all that are involved in sports. There is a level of professionalism. There is a time when we show humility, we show humbleness, and then there is a time that we speak out. We speak our truth. We speak truth to power. And I believe that Deion's personality is what it is. This is what makes Deion Sanders who he is. This is not a knock against him if he's not harming other people, he's not hurting other people. I believe we all should walk in a level of confidence pertaining to who we are and how we feel about ourselves. I'm going to play a couple of clips that I listened to over the weekend with Jason Whitlock, Warren Sapp, Seth Joyner, and of course Hall of Fame Brett Favre. And they shared some very interesting perspectives in support of Deion Sanders. Jason Whitlock, I don't know him personally. I never met him. I've never sat down to be in his company and learn anything from him. I've just seen his maturation process in the media for many years because, as I forestated, I went to school for journalism, but I was also an athlete. I was a student athlete. So I understand some aspects of both industries. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to go into a locker room with other men and coaches and coexist. I know what it's like to be on a practice field and the expectation is to work hard and to be consistent and under diverse conditions. And so I understand what it's like to be a teammate. I understand what it's like to go through adversity. I've also been in the classroom and I've been exposed academically to mass media, journalism. I've had several opportunities to pursue a career in communications. But listen, this is not about me. This is really about us coming together, talking about support. How do we support one another? How do we lift ourselves from the ashes of despair and envy and jealousy and bitterness and anger? How do we get to a healthy place and remove ourselves from trauma, past trauma that we haven't released, things that we're holding on to, that we're holding against one another? So this subject is really, really huge with the reality of Deion Sanders being a head coach at a Power 5 school, and he's doing well. He's 2-0. His team has won against a ranked opponent the first week out, TCU, and they've also conquered the Nebraska Cornhuskers, which are a relevant historical program. And I just believe that Deion Sanders has a right to build his legacy as a football coach. I think he was just passionate about addressing the commentators or the commentary pertaining to him as a coach, his children as players, and his athletic program that he leads. So I just believe that he wanted to set the record straight. He wanted to not, smudge it in anybody's face. He wanted to speak to those things that were spoken about him in a negative sense, as to say, what do you have to say now? What do you have to say at this point? What else do you have to say? So if you allow me just for a moment, and again, I want you to please give us feedback. Let us know what you're thinking about this subject and put it in the comment section. We also want you to like, subscribe, and share this content. But don't forget to ring the bell for notification. Ring that bell so that you'll know when we're on and what episode is being aired, whether it's live or pre-recorded. We want you to partner with us. Share the content. If this is interesting enough to you, please share it with someone else. Let them know. We would love for you to follow us on Them Brothers from Inglewood podcast. We want you to share information, give us suggestions, let us know what type of content is relevant and that is relatable for you. And so thank you for stopping by and being with us on today, because it means the world to us. I'm going to play this, and then we can kind of see if this is professional, personal, or otherwise. This is Jason Whitlock. He's on his own show, and he has 3 guests that are there with him, as I aforementioned. Sapp, Joyner, and Favre. These are all ex-professional football players. I hope you can hear it.
I'm still not all the way balled in, but and it started because Brett Favre was like, "Oh, Warren would make a great coach," and I'm like, "Warren Sapp would make a great coach. Get out of here!" And Warren's been that.
See, this is how I know this is not coming from a healthy place with Jason Whitlock. We're talking about Deion Sanders initially, but before he gets into what he thinks about Deion Sanders, he automatically condemns and presents a negative connotation, an idea, concept about Warren Sapp. Number one, he says he don't believe that Warren Sapp would make a good coach, because if I played it a little longer, he would go into his explanation was that great players rarely or never make great coaches. And it is far and in between. Most great players have not been successful coaches. But a lot of great players didn't even try to coach. They chose not to coach, because we saw Magic Johnson, who is a Hall of Famer. He is the greatest point guard, arguably, in my opinion. Maybe I'm being biased because I'm from the Los Angeles area and I saw Magic play his entire pro career in Inglewood, the Los Angeles Lakers. So maybe I'm being biased, but I've always enjoyed watching Magic Johnson play when he was at Michigan State. So I knew of Magic Johnson before he became the pro sensation and Hall of Famer. But what I'm saying is, he is arguably the greatest point guard to ever play basketball. And so he tried to coach the Lakers, and he was bored with a lack of, I don't want to say a lack of success, but maybe he was really turned off because there was a lack of effort or passion towards the game that he once felt and played with, and also how he felt about the game at that time. So he didn't succeed at coaching, and he threw in the towel. He quit. He stopped coaching way before the season was over. And I believe that that's because of how he's wired. It was more personal to Magic Johnson winning and being a professional and approaching the game a certain way. That's how he saw the game. So he didn't allow his patience to kick in. He didn't know how to go through the process as a coach, because he was used to winning, and he was used to winning a certain way. So no, a lot of the great players, they did not make great coaches. Larry Bird did the same thing. He coached for the Indiana Pacers. He soon went right into the upper management, and he went into administration because coaching was not, panning out for him. He wasn't being successful like he was as a player. So yeah, we get that. But Whitlock, why are you so demonstrative about Deion Sanders and his personality and what you perceive as arrogance? Why does it have to be personal instead of just being what it is? He's a football coach. He's getting it done. His team is 2-0. Why do we have to go into his flaws? We're all flawed. None of us are perfect. We're imperfect human beings trying to perfect ourselves in this life, which is impossible. We don't know anyone. We haven't read about anyone other than, and you consider yourself a Christian, so I can say this. So even as a believer in the Christian faith, Mr. Whitlock, you're imperfect. You're not a perfect person. Neither is Dion. Neither am I. So why are you so hung up on Dion's arrogance? And he went on, he just went into, well, he's not humble and that's not humility. But yet, the way he defended himself with the media makes him not humble and arrogant. But yet you said in the same breath, it was showing humility and humbleness when he drove 90 minutes to a high school practice every day to practice his team. Now, what is it? Is it as you stated about Dion, or is it about what Dion does as a coach? And so Jason Whitlock has gotten into it with various former athletes, current athletes. He's always rubbed guys the wrong way. And like Warren Sapp alluded to, he said, man, that's man jealousy. He pretty much told him, he was like, he didn't really call him a hater, but really you being a hater, Jason Whitlock, Warren Sapp said, you basically, that's male jealousy. For you to speak so negative and so harsh against Deion Sanders for merely committing himself to young people, to exposing them to their potential and helping them reach that goal, you sound like a hater, man. And it's time for us as it's always us as African American people jumping on the back and lifting the other community as if we don't belong. It's like once we get to a level of success, it's almost like we have to justify how we got there, why we're there, and what we're doing while we're there. Why do we always have to prove something to each other when we should be supportive of one another? We should be happy that we're at a place of success. We should be willing to share our success and help someone else come up. It goes back to this concept of crabs in the bucket. Yes, Dion has been, I would say, flamboyant. Yes, Deion Sanders has been boastful, boisterous. That's his personality. He was like that in high school. He was probably like that in middle school. He was probably like that in elementary, early adolescence. I don't know Deion Sanders personally. As I said before, we're the same age. We were playing football, in collegiate football at the same time. I played at a lower level. I didn't get a chance to play against Deion, but I was in that same community. I played with some very, very talented athletes. Some went on to go pro. Some I played with that went pro. Others didn't make it. But at the end of the day, I know what it's like to compete. I know what it's like to win. I know what it's like to lose. I'm fortunate to have my experience of playing two major sports on the collegiate level as well as in high school. It's an honor to be able to say that I played with or against elite talent. My childhood friends were incredible athletes. I mean, I could just go down the list of guys who went to major college and played on a major college level. You know, Tedrick Johnson, who is a educator, doing well as a teacher. He played at Oregon State. Tedrick Johnson actually led the nation. He was second to Deion Sanders in the nation for interceptions. I believe this was in the year of 1984. 1988. And Deion Sanders led the NCAA in interceptions, and Tedrick Johnson was second in interceptions that year. I played with Jamel Holloway, Oklahoma Sooner, national champ of the 1985-86 season for the NCAA. Just a slew of guys. I played with Leland Wigington, Pookie, who was an undersized All-American basketball player at Seton Hall University. Probably would have made the pros if it had not been for a major injury that he suffered his senior year. So, I mean, I could just go through the list of California players, you know, Derek Hill, Carson Great, wide receiver who's resting in peace. He passed away, but he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, it's so many guys that we were in this fraternity with that had personalities, man. We were all different, had this high testosterone. You know, they were aggressive. They were, you know, just achieving at levels that, you know, just, you know, man, you just can't imagine what it's like to harness competitive spirit. And I believe Deion Sanders is great for the game. He's great for these young people. He's great for the fraternity of coaches. He's an excellent recruiter. He's a marketing genius. He's associated himself with a team, a staff. That's just elite. It speaks to his personality. Let me say this because I don't want to get on a tangent and get off track with my personal feelings and endeavors. But I want to say that Jason Whitlock needs to cut it out. You need to just stop it. I know what the underlying thing is. And you said that you walked away and left money on the table in Los Angeles on a job that you turned down. Hey, that's great. Whatever. If you think that was humility and humbleness, you know, okay, so be it. But we really don't know the whole reason and story why you claim you left money on the table in Los Angeles pertaining to a job. So we're not going to get into that, but we will get into you have a consistency and you have a reputation of hating. And hating on African American people, commentators, coaches, athletes, all alike. You always have something negative to say. But as I forestated, journalism, the media, it's all about controversy. It's all about sales. We want to get ratings on our shows. We want to sell papers, which there aren't very many papers anymore. Everything is digital. But we still want to sell. We want to sell, sell, sell. So that's what you do. That's what the media does. The media is here to create an image and a concept, and they want to cash in on it. And we see this on a regular basis. Let me play this also into your hearing so we can also share about this. This is Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp is saying that Deion is not solely responsible for all of the success, but that he has shared the wealth. that he has brought in and incorporated elite coaches, an elite staff to assist him with recruiting, with his philosophy, and sharing it and conveying it to potential players as well as the players that are there. And these coaches have brought in athletes themselves. They have recruited and brought in quality players, and they'll continue to do that. And what he's saying is, Warren Sapp is simply saying is, Deion understood he couldn't do it alone. He needed assistance. He needed help. And for Jason Whitlock to take shots at Deion simply because he was mentioning the receipts from the media, things that they've said in the past that he brought to their attention. Why are you mad? What's the problem with Deion pulling these journalists on the table or on the carpet for what they said? You did say that, right? And so you're defending your colleagues, your peers, Jason Whitlock. You're defending the industry you represent, and you're opposing Deion for defending himself, for defending his kids, for defending the players that he coached, his staff, the university, the conference, the level in which he's succeeding at. Come on, Jason Whitlock. So, even Brett Favre, I'm going to let you listen to Brett Favre. I hope you can really hear this content because it's essential to the point that we're trying to make about prime time. This is Brett Favre. He's simply saying this. This is Brett Favre. He was sharing. I don't know if you could really hear it. I got to do a better job with getting the content or republishing the content for you to really hear it. But Brett Favre, the question was it really wasn't a question. It was a statement that Jason Whitlock made about great players not being great coaches. And so the question was, pretty much, do you think he kind of put it in general, do you think you could be a great coach? Brett Favre said, yes, I believe I can be a great coach. And Jason Whitlock, of course, shook his head. But as Brett Favre was explaining, he was saying, first of all, I understand now that it was better for me not to per se go right into coaching after I played, because I had a different mindset, frame of mind. I was more, macho, egotistic. I had a level of expectation when it came to competition. So Warren Sapp butted in and pretty much said, yeah, you weren't as hot-headed. You weren't, willing to fly off the handle like you were. And he said, and then Brett Favre agreed and said, exactly. I learned how to pause, how to step back. I learned later on how to not yell, not holler, not, pretty much just kick in the door to get my point across to whomever I was coaching. So what he was saying is there was a level of maturity that he had to matriculate to in order to be successful. So he said, so with my confidence, with my personality, I'm confident that I would be a great coach. Of course, Jason Whitlock, no, I don't think so. There hasn't been any great players who became great coaches. Okay. I don't really believe that he has thoroughly looked at some of the coaches, like the former Florida coach, who not only was successful as a Florida coach winning a national football championship, but he also won the Heisman as a player. I don't know what he did in the pros when he went back in those days, but I know he was a great college player. He won the Heisman, obviously. He went on to coach his alma mater, University of Florida, and he had great success there before Coach Meyer replaced him after he resigned. But I say that to say there has been coaches who succeeded, high school level, collegiate level, pro level. Look at Tomlin. Well, was Coach Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers, was he a great collegiate player? No. Was he a great professional player? No. But he's an outstanding coach. We call him great. We call him elite because this is his 17th year as an African American head coach who is still succeeding. I think he's only had one losing season as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. And so we know and understand that this is relevant and this can really happen. The last thing I want to say is Seth Joyner, who also joined them in this setting with Jason Whitlock. He alluded to maybe an overstatement. He made a statement about a player that he didn't feel was an elite talent that would get double figures in sacks. He didn't believe that this guy was a double-digit sack person. Well, eventually at the end of last season, this particular player who he didn't have the confidence in actually got 11 plus sacks last season. And so what he said was he went on air nationally and he ate crow and pretty much congratulated this young man for his achievement and admitted, I was wrong about this player. He said, now that's the kind of person I am, the human being I am, and I speak my mind and I stand on my truth, and I was able to go back and eat crow, apologize, and congratulate a guy on a job well done. And he said, as a journalist, as a media person, he would like to see the media do more of that in good character and in all sincerity, because he said this is one of the knocks and one of the negatives on our industry. So to me, that was constructive. That was constructive criticism, and that was truth. And I think that Seth Joyner deserves an applause for being conscious of understanding that the people that they interview, the people that they write about, they're human beings too. And so with it all being said, Deion Sanders deserves his flowers. Who cares about him being flamboyant? Who cares about, Jason Whitlock mentioned the gold chains and the fancy cars and the suits. Listen, has no bearing and no relevance on how he's passionate about his craft, how he loves his children and the kids that he coaches, and it's not a knock against how he treats his staff. Deion Sanders is doing a great job. I commend him, and I want you to give feedback, give suggestions as it relates to how we can better serve one another, support one another, and encourage one another as African American people, male and female. Congrats to Miss Coco, who won her first U.S. Open, and I just think the sky is the limit as to what she can do moving forward in her career. So kudos to that young lady, to her family, to her support system, her tribe, and those that she represents, because it is not easy being an elite talent, athlete, professional in any industry. And we need to give more flowers to the people and encourage them through our support on a regular basis. So, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Hoopy signing off. This car is coming to a stop, and we're just so glad to bring this content to you. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this platform. Ring the notification button and allow us to come into your car, your home, on your job, wherever you might be enjoying this platform. We just want to say thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Peace. We're out.